Good evening. It's August 9th, 2022. I would like to order the meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you'll please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag.
Pledge allegiance to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Johnson,
Present.
Ms. Najolski-Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. Ugelman,
Present.
Ms. Revoluz, Ms. Young,
Here.
Mr. Kites,
Here.
Ms. McMurr, Ms. Alderman,
Here.
Mr. Meek,
Here.
Mr. Livingston,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan,
Here.
Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Revoluz, Ms. McMurr. We have 12 with quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 26th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Smith moves. Any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Seeing no hands, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Eichner, Najolski-Eichner, and Ms. Lisa Shanahan are abstaining. Any other abstentions that I missed? Okay, the motion carries. Next item is public participation. Mr. Manzi, do we have anybody wishing to address the Common Council?
Yes, the first person we have is Diane Laricella.
Okay, Ms. LaRocella, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I hope you can hear me. Yes. Sorry, I couldn't come into the City Hall today, but I wanted to speak on item 7C under Economic and Community Development. I first wanted to appreciate and give gratitude to the fact that we had an industrial study. Steve, the consultants and staff, as well as council members and the mayor's office worked diligently and had multiple meetings. And I know there's a need to change our industrial zones. So I ask that you approve this tonight, but with this caveat. This is an important proviso. I read through the background that Steve put together for you all in the backup. And I wanted to say the incentive that we must strive for to keep our industrial zones and commercial zones vibrant is we need to give the incentive of being a good neighbor to the neighborhoods, the residential neighborhoods. We want good industrial and commercial neighbors. We'd love to have microgreens and that sort of thing. And how do we get that? We achieve that by making sure that we handle our enforcement responsibilities with more robust attention. As a former enforcement regulator with the state government, I often worked with federal people, local health departments and governments to try to get compliance from people that were regulated. I implore you, Mayor and Council, that sooner rather than later, this summer, there be an enforcement forum where the public can speak as well, and we rethink how we handle enforcement of our industrial and commercial zones. The health department should play a prominent role and can work with the fire, police, building, and zoning commission enforcement in order to make sure people are being good neighbors. I wanted to also say that I would love to see, as you're preparing your budgets for next year, and even beforehand, increase the zoning enforcement staff. John Hayducky is a good guy, but we need more than just John Hayducky to help us with our zoning problems. We need to readjust the citation strategy. I have listened in and read some of the decision-making. I'm glad that this administration started the citation strategy. But the one thing that comes away with me are many violators are consistently for months allowed to continue to exist when they have illegal contractor yards. Those should be shut down. Those that have legal contractor yard permits who are out of compliance should be encouraged with education and sternness to comply. But those that are illegal, who never should have been there amongst, especially South Norwalk, should be removed. I'm sure you have if you have a legal will, you can do it. So then again, I say thank you. I hope that you do approve this. However, there is a need to really buckle down and look at enforcement and improve our enforcement. Be fair but firm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lauricella. Mr. Manzi, is there anybody else?
If anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically now. There's no one else here, really.
Thank you. We will close public participation at this time. Next item on the agenda is appointments and resignations. There's one resignation, Mr. Brian Baxendale, Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe Ms. Dixon, it was because he was moving and unable to serve anymore. So that's one. Appointments, we have an appointment of Mr. Michael Matthews for the Harbor Management Commission. Do I have a motion? Ms. Shanahan.
Yes, I'd like to move Mr. Matthews for this position, Mayor. He is an excellent example of a newcomer coming to the city of Norwalk. He came and he called and invited a number of us common council people out for coffee and lunch. He asked good and penetrating questions about our city. He's learned so much about what we do here in Norwalk. And then the next thing he did was he asked how he could help, which is always so welcome. It turns out that he knows a lot about climate. He got his master's degree from Johns Hopkins in energy policy and climate. He works in the offshore wind industry, so this is perfect for the harbor management with this kind of background. And of course, he lives close to our harbor, so we're happy about that. So it's great to get some fresh and, dare I say, young faces involved in city government. And I am very happy to forward his nomination to this group.
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. Any further comments? Ms. Johnson?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself, please.
Okay. Please let the record show that Ms. Johnson will be recusing herself on this vote.
Thank you.
Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of appointment of Michael Matthews to the Harbor Management Commission? Any opposition? And any abstentions? Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Michael Matthews. I don't think he's here as far as I can see, but anyway, thank you for your willingness to serve. Next item is Mayor's remarks, just a few. One, as you know, we've been sending out, well, throughout the entire pandemic, we were sending out daily briefings on the situation as it existed in Norwalk. And as things started to slow down, we did weekly, and then we converted to bi-weekly notifications. Right now, we are going to be using the city website from December 21st, we're going to be using the city website to keep the community updated with real-time, real data information so that they will have much more accurate information on a daily basis. We found that from December 21st through May of 22nd, over 130,000 individuals visited the city's COVID-related links. So we know that the information is important. We know that people are seeking that information so that they can feel comfortable and know the situation at any given time. Next, if you would mark your calendars for this Saturday, August 13th, beginning at 7:30, the Sherry Winston Band will be performing at Cap Pasture Beach for the city's second concert within our jazz concert series. Now, that's in addition to our Wednesday night series. This is something that's sponsored by the Second Taxing District. We certainly thank them for that. So you can go there tomorrow night at Cap Pasture Beach at Saturday night at 7:30, and it'll be a concert every Saturday night at a different park or venue throughout the city. And don't forget, tomorrow night at the Norwalk concert series, we have a Billy Joel tribute, which those of us who love Billy Joel will be able to have a good time and enjoy it. Last but not least, we want to mention that this Thursday at 11 a.m., I will be joined by the Superintendent of Norwalk Public Schools, Dr. Estrella, Senator Duff, of the Common Council, for a groundbreaking ceremony of Cranberry Elementary School. Now, there are those that thought this would never happen, but it is, and it starts tomorrow. And we are so very proud, very happy. But beyond that, we now have a 25-year school replacement and renovation plan to work through over the next 25 years. Unfortunately, in the past, our schools have been neglected. They've become obsolete, and we want to make sure that our students have a great place to learn and get their world-class information, world quality education. And we want to make sure that the teachers have a place to teach, and that they have a place they can go to of which they will all be proud. And most importantly, this process will ensure that all schools will have air conditioning, which we know over the past couple of days has become patently clear as to why that's needed. So that's it for me. And I relinquish the floor to the council president, Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Mayor, the first item for us tonight is the vote on the initiation and creation of the 2022-23 Newark Charter Revision Commission. And just a little background, earlier this year, we spoke of the need to review and revise our city's charter. This was noted in the efficient study recently conducted by the city as well. The charter, as we talked about then, is extremely outdated and difficult for our citizens, as well as all of us, to understand and follow. Since then, we have retained attorney Stephen Bendick, who is here with us tonight. Steve has been involved in charter revision in many municipalities around the state and is considered one of the foremost experts on the subject. And he has been spending time since our last meeting, beginning this revision process by starting to reorganize the charter to help facilitate the whole process. So tonight we're going to vote to formally establish a Charter Revision Commission. The principal charge for this commission will be to undertake a review of our charter and make it more accessible and understandable to our residents and useful in the day-to-day governance of the city. But the Charter Commission will also have broad authority to go beyond that, and they will have open meetings for residents and elected officials alike to speak before them and submit their input. We expect to name the members of the commission at a special meeting at the beginning of September with the goal of presenting a revised charter to the voters in November 23. So I will now read the proposed resolution, and then Steve is available as am I to answer any questions afterwards. So whereas the charter of the city of Norwalk was last amended on November 8th, 2016, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of CGS 7-187 et seq, the Common Council is the appointing authority for a Charter Revision Commission and acting by a 2/3 vote of its entire membership may initiate a charter revision. And whereas the council has retained the services of attorney Stephen G. Bendick as Charter Revision Counsel to consult with the Common Council and the Office of the Corporation Counsel and to provide such assistance to the Charter Revision Commission as deemed necessary. And whereas the council has from time to time encountered issues of substance and import to the operation of the city and effective representation of the people of this city that would benefit from a thorough review of the charter by Charter Revision Commission. And whereas among those issues ripe for review are the need to, one, restructure and reorganize the charter into a more accessible and understandable document, both for our residents who expect an accountable and responsible government, and for our public officials who are charged with responsibility of conducting the business of government in accordance with the provisions of the charter. And two, determine the relevance and utility of provisions of the historical special acts which form the foundation of the charter to a 21st century municipality, including the roles of the mayor and the executive departments and other public entities, the legislative functions in the Common Council, the budget process, the regulatory oversight and policy roles and responsibilities of boards and commissions, and certain elected positions established by the charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved, pursuant to provisions of CGS 7-187 through 7-194, specifically Section 7-188B, the Common Council hereby initiates an action to amend the current charter by authorizing the creation of a Charter Revision Commission acting by a 2/3 vote of its entire membership. And be it further resolved that said commission shall be impaneled for the purpose of undertaking a thorough review of the current charter, including but not limited to a reorganization of the document that is more accessible to our residents and useful in the day-to-day governance of the city. In this respect, the commission shall review all aspects of the structure of city government as part of its overall charge. And be it further resolved that pursuant to CGS 7-190, that within 30 days following initiation of the charter revision process, this council shall by resolution, 1, appoint a charter revision commission consisting of not fewer than 5 nor more than 15 electors, not more than 1/3 of whom may hold public office in the city, and not more than a bare majority of whom shall be members of any one political party, which commission shall designate a chair, vice chair, and secretary, and proceed forthwith to draft any such charter amendments. And 2, establish the time frame for submission of a draft and final report by said commission. So I will now open up the floor to questions and comments. And as I said, Mr. Mendick is here to help advise. Okay, I think that's easy then. Oh, Mr. Hoolman.
Yes, thank you, President Livingston. I just want to say that I'm excited that we're finally at this place where we're jumping off and getting this commission going. Steve, thank you for the work that you've done so far, and I look forward to the work product that's going to come from this. I think it's well overdue, and I'm glad that we're undertaking this.
Ms. Smith? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would just like to add that, again, like Mr. Huberman said, this is long overdue. We have some things on the books from the 19aughts and teens that we are bound to. We need to initially make a document that is readable and usable for for not only city government, but for people. So it's a good place to start. So I very much support this.
Any further discussion? Okay, I will now call, Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you, President Livingston. I just wanted to mention that while we're going to move forward with having a commission that will do the core work of reviewing the charter, to just invite the overall community that if they have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, whatever, that they should reach out to members of the council so that we can move those suggestions, et cetera, to the commission. It's important that this work is not going to be done in a vacuum, and we want the community to be involved. So I just wanted to make that statement that council members will be available to receive any input from residents and move it on to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Very important comment. I have one question for Mr. Mendick. The draft resolution provides that the commission shall designate a chair, vice chair, and secretary. Need it be so?
No, it does not need to be so. If you choose, when you name the members, if you as a body choose the leadership, that's perfectly acceptable. And so you might want to strike that last clause from your resolution.
All right, I'm going to propose to strike that clause just to give us the flexibility as we move forward. And if there are no objections to that.
Just the clause regarding the chair, vice chair. You don't want to get rid of the 1/3, all the other.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the starting which commission shall designate.
All right, good. All right.
All right. So just to be clear, it would read, and not more than a bare majority of whom shall be members of any one political party. period, or semicolon and, right, Steve?
Yep. Exactly.
All right, with that change, I'll call for a roll call vote. Ms. Dixon, unless there are any comments or questions?
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Najilski Eichner,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Bowman,
We can't hear you.
Sorry,
Mr.
somebody's mic is on and I'm not hearing anything from the council floor.
Mr. Uvelman.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Ms. Alderman,
Yes.
Mr. Meek,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
So we now have a supermajority and we look forward to moving ahead. And thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate your time and effort so far.
Mr. Livingston, if I could just add one thing. I really applaud the fact that we're doing this again, but we all know how convoluted and difficult our charter can be. And I know it's something that we expect the Charter Revision Commission to make great inroads, but I believe this should be an ongoing process. We should always be reviewing our charter to make sure it's up to date, make sure there's no complications, make sure we're consistent with law. There are so many things that are in that charter that we need to make sure that we keep it going. So again, I want to applaud the work. Thank you, Mr. Mednick. You've been extremely helpful in making this happen.
Thank you. It's an honor, Mayor. Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Steve. All right, moving on. We have a resignation of Kara Murphy from the Board of Ethics. Kara had a career change and unfortunately she is leaving us to pursue that opportunity. Ms. Murphy played a key role in revisions to the Code of Ethics and the creation of an educational program. So I want to thank her for all the hard work and effort on behalf of the city. Now I shall turn it over to Ms. Young for the consent calendar.
Thank you, President Livingston. The consent calendar reads as follows. 7A. 1. Authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a 7th Amendment to the August 28th, 2007 agreement for professional engineering services between the City of Norwalk and A. DeSere Associates PC regarding the East Avenue reconstruction project for an amount not to exceed $165,000 in accordance with the attached scope of services dated August 1, 2022. Account numbers noted. 7A2, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute the First Amendment to the January 24th, 2022 agreement with Colonna Concrete and Asphalt Paving LLC for project DRG 2021-1 Dreamy Hollow, Betts Brook area drainage, sanitary sewer and water main improvements for an amount not to exceed $1,955,000. Account numbers noted. 7B2, A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Antonazzi Associates PC to provide conceptual design services and professional cost estimates for West Rocks and Rhoton Middle Schools for a total not to exceed $25,000. Count number noted. 7B2B, authorized to establish a contingency for additional services as may be required for a total not to exceed $2,500. 7B3A, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with J. Antonelli Roofing, a division of Property Group Connecticut, Inc., for the Norwalk Public Works Center Salt Shed Roof Replacement Project for a total not to exceed $72,250. Funds are available from the noted accounts. 7.3B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $725,000. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Ms. Young. I will now call for a vote on the consent calendar as read. All in favor, indicate by raising your hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. I'll pass it right back to you on 7B, 1A, and 1B.
All right, thank you. The land use and development, item 1A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Consulting Engineering Services, Inc. to provide building commissioning services for the Newark High School project for a total not to exceed $208,880, account noted. 1B, authorize the Office of Building Management to execute change orders on contract for an additional services for a total not to exceed $20,000, account number noted. This item relates to the position of a commissioning agent for the Newark High School project. Commissioning agents are required by under state law, and they are services related to HVAC and building envelope. This provider was selected through an RFP process in which there were 6 bidders, and they were the second lowest, the lowest being eliminated due to missing information. And that's all I have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Are there any comments or questions? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Seeing none, I would call for a vote. All in favor of item 1A and 1B? Any opposed? Mr. Meek is opposed. And any abstentions? No abstentions. So the motion carries 11 to 1. Thank you, Mr. Livingston. And this is an exciting project and we're looking forward to it. As I mentioned earlier, it's been 50 years since we built the new school in the city of Norwalk. And it's about time we start doing something about it. Next item, Mr. Kaides.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item D1, and that is to authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documentation to ratify and approve the industrial zone study. I'd like to move that item and just briefly say that I want to thank city staff, not just for their commitment, which began back in 2000, for their work on this site, but also want to thank them and for their commitment to improve on violation enforcement and other financial investments, so that will ultimately, I believe, help to clean up our industrial zones. Because obviously we can't have have an industrial zone plan without also having a plan on how we're going to address the issues we already have. I'm optimistic with this commitment that we'll be able to improve on the quality of life for residents who live near or close by to our industrial zones. And also, which was a big topic of conversation, is obviously the new school in South Norwalk. That was a source of conversation throughout this entire process. So I'm glad to see that there have been some modifications and amendments that I believe will help with allowing a safe and safer environment in that area. So I'm pleased with what we have tonight. I feel like by not doing it, I think we'll and not supporting this, we will, I think the consequences would be grand. And I'm hoping for it to have the support of this council this evening. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Kaides. Any comment or discussion? I'm trying to, okay, Ms. Najilski-Eichner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I wanted to, again, express my appreciation to the staff for the time that they've taken to listen to the council, to really hear our concerns. I think, for anyone watching who wants more information, there was a very extensive discussion at the Economic and Community Development meeting last week that I think was very helpful. I remain concerned that the industrial zone study, while it makes significant improvements that I really applaud, and I particularly applaud the changes to Meadow Street and Wilson Avenue in recognition of the new school, moving them from an I-1 to an I-2, which was a change that the council had requested. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the ways in which the study as a whole really does strengthen and clarify the location of industrial activities around the city and tries to respect the issues that arise when an industrial zone abuts a residential zone. That said, this is a study that, again, was a long time coming, had not been done for several decades. We can't afford to wait another several decades before this is done again. So I will be supporting the study tonight, but very much with the caveat that I think significant work remains to be done, particularly in the South Norwalk, Meadow Street, Wilson Avenue area, where I think that we need to make further changes to address the school location, but also to be very strategic about the need to manage redevelopment in that area in such a way that the residents are no longer burdened by inappropriate environmental hazards, but at the same time are not driven out by gentrification following a sort of development plan that is not thoughtfully put in place. So I'm really looking forward to working with the staff. And again, I appreciate their comments so far as we continue to try to make our industrial zones work for the city, work for the residents, provide jobs and employment, but also be safe and abide by all environmental regulations. So I will be voting yes tonight, but as I said, this very much with the expectation that this is a continuing work in progress, and we will need to revisit these issues around both enforcement and development going forward over the next couple of years. So thank you again to the staff for the work and the changes.
Thank you, Mr. Jelski. Any other comments? Questions? If you're virtual and if you raise your hand electronically, because I can't see everybody. Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. I will call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Another exciting thing that we should be doing on a regular basis. It's becoming a theme if you hear it. We need to do these things often and thoroughly. So it is nothing, there's I believe there's a suspension of the rules. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I would like to move to suspend the rules this evening so we can add an agenda item for community services.
Okay, all in favor of suspension of the rules to add an item of community services? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Now, if you can read the item, then we can vote on the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. This is the item. It is to authorize a Community Services Committee to authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Connecticut CT Food Share for use of the Ben Franklin Community Center parking lot for a mobile food pantry monthly, parentheses, on the morning of each fourth Saturday, close parentheses, beginning in September 2022. I can speak to this very briefly. We do have our Assistant Health Director, Teresa Argandesi, here to answer any questions since we are moving this directly to Council, should there be from our colleagues. And just as some background, Connecticut Food Share is sponsoring a mobile pantry one Saturday each month in this parking lot, school parking lot. They're sending a refrigerated truck to Ben Franklin and parking it in the parking lot, and Malta House, a community partner, will staff the site and will coordinate with Connecticut Food Share. They don't need access to the building. It's just the parking lot, and this model was used at this location in 2019. It's a really important way that we can make sure that folks in Newark have access to food, especially those neighbors who are experiencing food insecurity, and it's a fabulous program. So I highly recommend that we vote yes on this. The Connecticut Food Share requires that the property owner complete just a attached referendum. So this is just updating something, just so we have that updated. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Any further comment or discussion? As mentioned, we have Ms. Argandesi here who can answer any questions. Mr. Meek.
Yeah, is that in the back parking lot behind the building? Is that where
Yes, I believe so, right? The back parking lot of Ben Franklin? Yeah.
you've done this before, there's no like competing. I mean, parking gets a little tight there when you have Crystal Theater and basketball going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's going to be a Saturday morning and they set up you don't really get out of your car. You just drive through and they put the stuff in the trunk. I believe that's the way it was run.
Sounds good.
Any further comment or discussion? You know, Mr. Burnett, you've been very active in that. You've thrown many food in trunks.
Indeed, I have, yes.
Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. This is absolutely wonderful. We know there are still people with food insecurity based on what we've just experienced. And this is, I really give Norwalk a lot of credit for doing these kinds of things. We've given out hundreds of thousands of pounds of food over the past couple of years. So thank you all. I believe that's the last item to come before the council. Ms. Shanahan.
Motion to adjourn on Diana's behalf.
On Diana's behalf, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned at 8:09. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night, be well.